Okay. So today's episode is going to be a little different because we are going to be talking about...
I'm just swatting flies away.
Oh, I thought you were telling me to shut up.
No.
We're going to be talking about movie news because recently there's been a lot of controversial headlines and a lot of weird things happening in the filmosphere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot
Terrible
of
way
stuff.
to put it. But yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be jumping from topic to topic. And I know we should probably have some sort of like a scripted thing going on, but I just feel like spontaneity is the key to success when it comes to things like this. So the first topic that we're going to be addressing is...
These guys.
Yeah.
These lovebirds. These Pulp Fiction lovebirds.
And
Wow.
if you're only listening to this, you can catch us on YouTube. That's right.
Yeah,
we got
just
video.
beginning to upload it there.
YouTube.
You ever wonder what these beautiful voices look like? Well, check out YouTube. That's
Yeah.
all we
So you
got
can
to say.
check it out.
But up here we got Samuel Jackson and Quentin Tarantino. What's going on with these guys?
So let's get down to the... let's get some history lesson down here. So basically... These two are famous for collaborating on several projects. I think the first project that they ever collaborated on was Pulp Fiction, which came out in like 1994. And then the next project that they did together was, if I'm not wrong, Django Unchained. Or no, was it The Hateful Eight before? No, The Hateful Eight came before Django Unchained, right? Or was it afterwards?
I think it was after.
Here, we can back check that real fast.
But yeah, the point is that these two are famous for being not only collaborators but friends outside of their sort of line of work. And right now there's been a sort of recent drama going on, not only between them but at a much larger scope in the Hollywood scene.
So he's been in Pulp Fiction, Django Unchained, Glorious Bastards, apparently. Was he on that? I don't think he was. He was in Kill Bill. He was a
He
pianist.
was definitely in Kill Bill and Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown.
Yeah, but they're very...
Where he did a cameo.
They're very frequent collaborators, and I'm assuming friends, you know.
I guess.
Yeah, and, you know, they're all cozied up here. But the thing is that we've had a recent problem in Hollywood, not only between them two, because the thing that is happening between them two reflects a larger problem and a larger controversy happening in Hollywood, and that is of directors of a certain stature taking a stance against
Superheroes.
and franchise-driven movies, basically.
Big corporate movies.
Exactly. And we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of that conflict later on. But if you can scroll up so we can see the article title.
So the headline reads, this is by Vanity Fair.
The Vanity Fair article. Yeah. What does it say?
Samuel L. Jackson refutes Quentin Tarantino's nonsensical Marvel diss.
Tarantino railed against the Marvel-ization of Hollywood on a recent podcast. And this
Huh?
article is
Podcast.
written by Savannah Walsh, so all the credit goes to her whenever we're talking about this article. Why are we looking at a Trump Mar-a-Lago article now?
You
Gambit
always
comes-
need more Trump, huh?
No. Technical difficulties, but
Yeah.
a little something I'd like to add is that you gotta understand that Samuel L. Jackson is an actor that works for Marvel, and if I'm not mistaken, he has a TV show coming out on Disney Plus. What was it called?
I don't keep up with Marvel content anymore.
Okay, yes, because you are a traitor.
Not a traitor.
Yes,
I
you
just
are. You give
I
up
can't
on
stand by.
things once they
We're gonna talk about that later. Not right now.
That's okay. Well, I mean, that's the whole point. That's what makes the podcast juicier, you know. Cause
Yeah, but later. Right now, we're addressing a specific thing. Okay.
Well, I just wanted to say that Samuel L. Jackson is coming up with a new Disney Plus series called. Just a second. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I wasn't ready. Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion. With the scrolls and all that. I remember.
More soulless content made from a corporation that cares
But
more about
you-
quality
but you see
or
that-
quantity over quality.
That makes sense, Belen.
There's no creative integrity anymore. And you know what? we're going to take sides on this issue a little later on, but right now I want to talk about the context. So what's happening between Tarantino and Samuel L. Jackson right now? So it says here that Tarantino has now joined fellow filmmakers Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola, and James Cameron in expressing varying degrees of disillusionment and disdain within the superhero genre. So right there, I just want to talk about the comments that Francis Ford Coppola and Martin Scorsese have made against Marvel Pictures, which is basically that Martin Scorsese said that they were like theme parks, and he got a little clap back from Ricky Gervais on the Golden Globes. I think it was a 2019 or 2020 Golden Globes. We said 20, yeah, probably, I don't know. But basically, Ricky was like, I don't know why he's comparing them to theme parks if you're not even tall enough to ride on the rides. But
Ricky Gervais was dissing a lot of people.
I know, but there's just one
just
example.
that.
But that's what Martin Scorsese said. Francis Ford Coppola also said some things. I don't remember what exactly it was, but he has a certain hatred for Marvel movies. And James Cameron, I've never heard of him say anything against Marvel.
Oh, I have.
Okay.
Basically, he says that. Never mind that. I thought I did.
He says that he doesn't like them.
Exactly.
That he doesn't like
but
them.
there was a specific quote here. I'll look it up.
Which I don't understand, because if there's anybody responsible for the franchise-driven films that we have today, I think James Cameron has a hand in that, along with Steven Spielberg, because they produce these sort of movies with these like wonderful, fantastical worlds that you want to see more of, and you want to drill more more money out of. But yeah, those are like the three main directors that Tarantino is sort of ganging up with against Marvel. And here, just scroll down so we can see what he said. He said, wait, no, it's above.
It's
Oh yeah, I
delicate
forgot it was a
scroll.
sensitive scroll down. Sorry. So he said, wait, hold on. Yeah, there we go. No, wait. Scroll up. Okay, he said, Captain America is the star. Thor is the star. I mean, I'm not the first person to say that. I think that's been said a zillion times. But it's like, it's these franchise characters that become a star. So let's begin to dissect that statement. I think Anthony Mackie, who plays the Falcon, he at one point said that the film or the movie star was dead. People like Humphrey Bogart, and if you're into 80s action flicks, Jean-Claude Van Damme, even Leonardo DiCaprio, I don't know, Johnny Depp. But he said that there aren't any movie stars anymore, that now it's just roles that are the ones that are getting all the attention. So in this case, Tarantino said that it was Captain America and Thor, that they're the stars of the movie, basically, that people don't recognize sort of the actors portraying them. But that I disagree with.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows the actor from that role. They know their names too. It's not like you're not familiar, with the names.
But you see, when it comes to that, when Chris Hemsworth's making a new movie, it's like, oh, Thor's making a new movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Captain America is in the new Knives Out movie. Or it's not really. I mean, they know who they are.
Right.
But
Right. Yeah.
They're these guys from that movie.
They're the Marvel guys doing movies.
And I think that's what he's trying to say. But and it's kind of always bothered me too. Like when I was looking at the trailer for Marriage Story back in 2018.
Bill Nye was in Pirates of the Caribbean?
Bill Nye, not Bill Nye.
Like Bill Nye the Science Guy?
No, that's not him. That's Bill Nye. The disrespect.
Oh, the heck's been
I love Bill Nye. I wish I could meet that man in person, because he's like the most iconic British man I've ever seen in my life. Besides
Bill
David
Nye,
Tennant.
the Science Guy, was in Pirates of the Caribbean.
I don't think he was, no. But but yeah, that's the problem. So I was looking at the trailer for Marriage Story back in like 2018, and people were saying, "Oh, look, it's Kylo Ren and Black Widow having a divorce," and I'm like, okay, like that's low.
Yeah.
But you're not in charge of people's careers.
I'm not in charge of their careers, but it's
people
just
can view them how they want.
They can view them how they want, but I'm saying that the franchise does have a certain effect in how actors and actresses are perceived for their work.
That's why, like, Carrie Fisher, originally, like, back in the day, whenever she was playing Leia, she came back and said, like, getting that big Star Wars role lost me a lot of other roles, because like casting directors would only see like me as Leia instead of any other character that I would try to portray. Even though like she's, great actress and everything, but she just couldn't get, people just see her as one thing.
Exactly. And I think that has a lot to do as well with sort of the animated world, and I may be pivoting here a little bit, but that's okay. Because it also has to do with this topic of actors and actresses getting the recognition that they deserve. And I think that with animated films, I think right now they care more about who's voicing the characters and not the characters themselves.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the opposite, but in this way it's supposed to be like the opposite because it's an animated film and the characters are the ones that are supposed to shine, essentially. And for example, like if I say, give me all the cast members of, let's say, Shrek, right? I know people are big fans now and they know who voiced who.
Is life.
But back in the day, it's like, I don't know who this person is. Or like the cast members for Aladdin, the animated movie from the 90s.
Like Disney movies.
You can't recall their names off the top of your head. Yeah. And that's because the quality of the voice and whether the voice made the character or not, the characters are more iconic themselves than the actors. And that's okay within an animated film setting. But when you're talking about a film that's like live action, I think that Tarantino is more used to the fact that whenever there was a picture going on, I guess back in the heyday, the actors' names were like on the big like fonts on the posters, right?
Yeah.
And that's what sold the movie, It wasn't necessarily like the story. It's like you're seeing, and I like to use Humphrey Bogart because he's one of my favorite characters, actors, I'm sorry. But I saw like movie posters of him, and it's like seeing a man be different people and go on different adventures.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think there was this one, I'm just listing off crazy examples. So in one movie, you get to see him as a sea captain, and in the other one, he's a spy. In the other one, he's an explorer. And the other one, he's a janitor.
Yeah.
But it's fun to sort of see the actor that you've become associated with play different characters because I guess there's a sense of wonder associated with that. And I think that's what Tarantino's referring to.
Well, I mean, that begs the question, like, well, are actors just not as good as they were back in the day?
Well, I can't really comment on that because I don't really know anything about the craft of acting. And it's something that I'm actually getting a little bit into more to be more acquainted with. But I can't talk about something that I'm not familiar, I'm not an expert with because I don't feel comfortable. I feel like a poser. Yeah,
well, I mean, just by viewing,
By viewing, I guess it's
different. I wouldn't say it's better. It's just different materials. I would say there was more heart in it, more soul, because they were pioneering. There wasn't really an established way of doing things, so it might have felt fresher back then. But now that we view acting like say Home Alone 1 and 2, I think the kid is annoying. Like, he's not a good actor. He's over the top, over exaggerating. Like he's I don't like him. But back in the day, I guess it would have been more acceptable because the standard wasn't really a standard, don't you think?
I don't think there was much of a standard. I just think that the evolution of movies has made the movie characters more relatable. Like, for example, if you were to pull a movie out of the 40s or 50s, their job was to basically portray a world that doesn't exist or a hypothetical reality.
Star Wars.
And their job is not to basically be as realistic as possible. Their job is to transport you somewhere else.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
And now actors and script writers, screenwriters and directors are more concerned with sort of the raw. And I think that also began during the 70s revitalization of films, was that they included sex, drugs, swear words, and just this raw reality that humans were actually going through. And a lot of films weren't really preoccupied with that. And I think that the 70s period of film, the new American wave changed everything because people were saying we want to see ourselves on the screen. We really want to see something else.
Making them more grounded
characters, more grounded material. So
not necessarily more of a fantasy like Star Wars, more of Taxi Driver, for example. More of criticism in society rather than entertainment.
Exactly.
Became
So
political. That's the thing.
yeah, so
Yeah.
films essentially became vehicles for statements and on anything, basically, from
Yeah.
political stances to any sort of facet of the human condition.
And that's the
Yeah.
thing. I feel like film started with the idea of transporting you, like you said, to another world, to somewhere, better, somewhere not this reality. But it slowly started, they slowly started seeing how powerful films are. And in a way, they started manipulating our own reality through films. So they completely threw out, I feel like, the original concept of creating this new world. Rather,
Mhm.
they started getting into our reality and criticizing it and wanting to change it through film, which isn't necessarily bad.
But it's just a different approach. Like you were saying, it's not necessarily
Yeah.
better or worse. It's just a different approach. Like, for example, what if Interstellar was made in the 50s? It would come off of this cheesy sci-fi movie, right?
Wouldn't
Right.
make sense.
It would not make sense because, it's
People aren't
just-
looking
it's
for
different.
that. Yeah, people aren't
It's
looking
different.
for, deep, nuanced things. They want to be entertained.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And in a way, Marvel kind of balances that out because Marvel is grounded. They try to give scientific explanations to everything. They're worried they're worried that it makes sense, but yet they transport you into this new world, which is in a way, Belen, why Marvel is so successful. I feel like because it could happen in our world, but it isn't. And
Yeah. They
The-
do
the
it
only-
doing the extremes of both.
I understand that, but the only reason why I don't like it, it's because anything can happen within the box that is that universe of comics. Nothing else can happen outside of it.
well, there is the multiverse.
You can't have, let's say, a Western movie come out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it can't exist unless it's tied to other characters or other universes or other events that already happened. And I think that's what's annoying because there's no independent sort of film that can
But you
happen
used to like
inside
Marvel
it.
before Phase
Because they
4.
actually did have independent
But you-
films.
you-
Like, for example, like I was talking in the other episode, I said that Guardians of the Galaxy was a very different movie than Captain
Yeah.
America the Winter Soldier, and they came out in the same year. And so that difference in tone and style and direction, that doesn't exist anymore because Marvel is just the same sloth of content disguised under different masks. And I think that's what I find annoying, that there's no room for creativity or growth because there's a company that manages the cinematic universe and all it cares about is
That is
profits
true.
and growth.
Marvel movies are starting to blend in a little bit. Like Thor Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy are weirdly, not Ragnarok, I'm sorry, Love and Thunder, they're weirdly the same. I would say Ant-Man Quantumania also looks weirdly the same, like a space movie. And even Black Panther in a way. I mean, Wakanda Forever. It's a more sad approach, but it's still in a way, kind of quirky.
And that's why
kinda-
they're like, if they announce a character, like if they say Nova is joining the universe, I would not be excited because in my head, like I've said this before, I know what it's going to look like, I know what it's going to sound like, and I know in my head how it's going to be tied to the rest of the universe. It's just,
I wanted to get back
It's
to
not
before,
exciting.
it's like whenever we saw Guardians, we were like, well, how is this going to fit in? But then they found a good way to, even though make this movie like a whole different genre of Marvel, they made it still tie in.
exactly.
But
But
now it's just kind of like random.
don't
puzzle
you guys
pieces
think
just thrown
that
together.
they saw how successful Guardians was and they try to implement that same formula all over again to the other
Yeah.
content?
They added that pinch, especially of like the comedy, to where there has to be a joke at the end of every sentence.
Yeah.
That and like the quirkiness and the awkwardness of characters.
I cannot take anything that comes out of Marvel seriously anymore. But I think back to what Tarantino was saying, that characters outshine the people that are playing them. And that, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. It's just not what movies are usually like. We're going away from like the norm of what things are usually like, and that may piss off some people, but I don't think it's a bad thing. But anyway, just let's keep reading.
Yeah, so the whole beef is Samuel L. Jackson replied back.
So Samuel said that it takes an actor to be those particular characters. Jackson said during Tuesday's episode of The View when asked about Tarantino's statements. And the sign of movie stardom has always been what? Asses in seats? What are we talking about? So it's not a big controversy for me to know that, well, apparently these actors are movie stars. You know, Chadwick Boseman is Black Panther. You can't refute that, and he's a movie star. So I agree with Samuel L. Jackson on that. And I don't think this is necessarily like a comment on the Marvel like ification of Hollywood. This is just talking about a particular topic of sort of, is it important that that characters outshine their actors, or like roles outshine actors or not? That's what the topic is about. But let's keep scrolling down. But that's what he has with Samuel L. Jackson. This point of dissent between them talking about the importance of actors being movie stars, whether or not that's important. Okay, and then now we're moving into the more general sort of conflict here. Tarantino maintained during his podcast interview that his only axe to grind with Marvel movies is that they are the only things that seem to be made, adding, they are the entire representation of this era of movies right now. There's not really much room for anything else. That's my problem. It's a problem of representation.
Amen.
Okay, so let's talk about that before we get into Simu Liu's response. So what do you guys have to say about Tarantino's little quote there?
We've been talking about this entire podcast. It's the superhero movie phase right now, and there's no room for anything else. Because people, like, even if they won't say it, they only want to go see Marvel movies right now. They only want to go see the superheroes because we've just been so used to these relatable yet super unrelatable, crazy superhero stories that normal dramas seem like a waste of time.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily dramas either. I think
everything.
I think that, like, for example, like, Tarantino's not saying that he has a problem with Marvel movies. Like, there is room for creative expression on every corner in the film industry.
No, not really anymore.
Not anymore, but
because they don't greenlight movies.
Well, I'm not talking about
superhero movies. Where do they go though? That's the thing.
I'm not talking about the industry. I'm talking about how there should be room for every single voice and point of view to be made.
It's just that it's not the big screen anymore. It's where.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's Netflix. It's on the streaming platforms.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so.
Well, you said there wasn't any.
No. That's what I'm saying is that Tarantino's basically saying that there's no more room for any other creative sort of independent movies.
On the big screen.
Well, we can argue that
it's just on Netflix and Hulu and Prime, and that's where it's all going. That's where all the creative things are happening, like Squid Games, like what else? The platform, all the.
Well, that's another conversation, though. The sort of the competitive,
but that's where
sort
it's
of nature
going,
of streaming and
but they're not competing.
Movie
you
theaters.
See, they're finding refuge in Netflix.
Is just about, like, is the movie gonna make us millions of dollars?
Is
it gonna make the top 10 grossing box office money? Because that's all of what Marvel was trying to do, especially like near phase 2, phase 3. They were like, hey, we have a chance to beat Avatar here. Like, we have a chance to
became like
make
the goal now, right? Like the standard. If you beat Avatar, you made something happen.
Yeah, it's all about making the charts now, money-wise.
And that's exactly my problem. The fact that this company that's running Marvel is valuing profits and revenue over creative integrity.
I agree.
That is my big problem. And Tarantino's problem seems to be that he thinks that these movies don't leave much room for anything else. That people are this era of movies is only going to be remembered by the franchises that defined it, not necessarily by the independent sort of films that he's hoping to see more often. But
or actors, right?
Yeah. Or what?
Or actors.
Yeah.
So like, oh, well, who are the best actors of the 2010s? Thor, Spider-Man. Those actors were good.
Okay,
Spider-Man? Sorry, I was reading a really intense post. Apparently, I'm reading up on Avatar. There's nudity in the new Avatar movie.
Let's go watch it.
New alien nudity.
Well, hold on. What did Shang-Chi say?
So Simu Liu,
he
replied.
must follow on Twitter, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's pretty active.
I bet. He said that he noted on Twitter that the golden age of Hollywood that Tarantino could be addressing was white as hell.
Ooh.
Liu tweeted, "If the only gatekeepers to movie stardom came from Tarantino and Scorsese, I would have never had the opportunity to lead a 400 million plus movie. I am in awe of their filmmaking genius. They are transcendent auteurs, but they don't get to point their nose at me or anyone." So let me respond to that. Let me respond to that right now. He's right about one thing, that back in the golden age, Hollywood was white as hell, and that there wasn't any room for diversity. And that's very correct. I have no argument against that. My only argument, or my only sort of problem with this statement, is the fact that he's saying that these big franchise movies, it's really sad for me that these big franchise movies are the only opportunities for minority representation. Because, and the fact that he's measuring his success as an actor based on the revenue of the film. And that's really sad.
Marvel's got him.
Because the success of a movie is not measured by how much revenue it makes or rakes in at the box office. I love a lot of films that have not made a lot of money at the box office, but they're very wonderful. Movies like Juno and Ghost World.
I mean, that's what cult classics are, essentially.
That's what
Originally, they
are.
were so weird, but then after a couple of years, people were like, oh my gosh, this is the best movie ever.
So, yeah, it's sad for me that he measures the success of, like, his career on the fact that this movie made a lot of money, and that's not the case. It's sad that these low-quality films, you know, such as Marvel films that now value quantity over quality, basically use minorities as sort of, you know, it's good to have representation, but it's just sad that the representation has to be in a shitty movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a crappy movie. And it would be more amazing to have stories, like, you know, like Parasite, where it was led by people of color. But it was a very good movie, essentially, and it's not a Marvel movie. It's sad for me that he's saying that, he says that I would have never had the opportunity to do a 400 plus movie, but they don't get to point their nose at me or anyone. The fact that he's saying don't insult Marvel movies because they actually provide representation. Yeah, they do provide representation, and that's good. But you can't defend these movies solely on the basis of they provide representation, so you can't say anything bad about them, because that's not true. There's a lot wrong with them, and I'm so sad that they're using basically, they are taking the right steps towards representation, because, again, it's important. But it's just sad for me that they basically, like, is this the only way that we're going to get representation is by these lazy franchise-ridden movies?
I mean, literally the actors themselves are, like, trying to defend Disney, like, look, we put a Mexican in as the enemy in Black Panther.
Yeah,
huh?
more.
Isn't that cool? See?
No, it's not.
We're diverse. Huh?
It's like, representation is important, but it's just sad that the only representation we're getting is from these lazily written movies that are just cooked and ready for consumption, like a fast meal.
And that's the thing, though. You got to remember something here. Who are Simu Liu and Samuel L. Jackson? They're Marvel employees. They have to talk.
Contracted.
Yeah, they have to talk good about Disney. I guarantee you that if they were still working with Scorsese or Tarantino, they'd just jump ship, because it's all about money. It's all about who's employing them, who's signing their paychecks.
Yeah.
It may not be what they actually believe,
That's true.
but they're employees and they have to make the company look good. And that's
Yeah.
another thing.
It's the contract.
It's the contracts. And it's all about ethics and all that, but that's the whole game they have to play. And another thing, real fast, I don't like it when they say it's a diverse movie and it's only one race. Like, if it's not white, it's diverse. And that's not, I don't find that true. I feel like when it's diverse, there's multiple races.
Well, I feel like they call it
movie.
diverse because you're so used to seeing a lot of white representation on screen, and then the second you have an all minority-led cast.
All minority
that's
one
diverse.
minority. That's not really diverse. That's still like
It's
one
diverse.
color.
I know it's one color, but it's diverse under the Hollywood umbrella. Like, you've
industry.
had a bunch of white-led movies, and then you
But
have
on
one
the
movie
same
where
size
people
it
of
is-
color are being led.
But it
It is
doesn't
saying,
make
like-
sense. Like, I would like to see equal amount of black people, equal amount of Hispanics, equal amount of Asians, and an equal amount
Yeah,
of white.
won't we all? That's why diversity matters.
That is diversity for me.
Well, it's
Not
also
at
like
all.
they label.
But it can't be
like-
also contained in one film. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's like they label like
Endgame.
a movie
Endgame did it.
as like Wakanda Forever as an ethnic movie or diverse.
It's diverse because you're not used to seeing. Hollywood is not used to seeing a all black cast led movie. Like, sure, there's movies that have had that before, but they're very small. And the reason why it's labeled as diverse, it's because within the scope of Hollywood that is generally mostly white.
Yeah.
But it's not.
It's a movie that
not
pushes
objectively
diversity.
correct, though. It's more of a. How would you say it? It's not objective. It's only because we haven't seen it before. Now it's diverse, but
No, because it's bringing diversity to the table. It's
No, it's
bringing
bringing-
diversity to the
it's
to
bringing
the,
a
to the
certain
landscape.
a certain race is taking over a movie. It's like we see an all Mexican movie. I wouldn't call that diverse.
I would
call
because
that,
it's bringing diversity to the
well,
industry that
was
is mostly white.
The only comment I had to make, like, and we always treat like if something isn't white, it's better, and that's what Stephen King said once. If you don't remember,
What?
he said that the quality of a movie does not depend on the diversity of the movie.
That's exactly what I'm saying right now. I'm saying that just because Marvel movies have
and he
representation,
almost got fired from the
which is a good thing.
Oscars. It does have representation, but you see, it's not the type the equal representation that they claim to be. It's only one type of representation.
well,
But look, Wakanda. You know what? I take one thing back. Wakanda Forever did have a more diverse cast. It was Hispanics, it was black, and it was white.
so your category for a movie's excellency is based on the amount of races it has
Not
in one
excellency, but an accurate term of diversity. It's not really accurate.
movie. Well,
when
my
you-
term of diversity is defined by movies
not
that
white
are
people. That's,
basically, yeah.
That's diversity. Wow,
Yeah.
I have to disagree, but
It's
To each
because
his
the entire most of the industry, I'd say a pretty good
But we're
80% of the
talking-
industry
we're
is
talking
white.
Like 90s and 2000, early 2000s. Yeah, it was pretty white,
Even
led.
today, it is.
No, not really. No, especially not in Marvel, and especially not any of the recent stuff they do.
Well, what recent stuff?
All the Disney Plus shows, all the Falcon.
Why are you
becoming the
basing?
new
That's
Captain
my
America.
problem. That's my problem because when you're talking about everybody does it, everybody to you is just Disney and big corporations and
No, I'm
franchises.
talking about literally Netflix. I'm talking about what else? The new Scooby-Doo remake. How they changed the races so that it wouldn't be all white.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. Like it is happening. People cannot say that Hollywood is all white.
It
It's
is
not all
happening,
white.
but it has been for a long time.
For a long time. Yes, I'll give you that. Hollywood has been white for a long time.
And now
but
that we're seeing more
not
representation,
anymore. So yeah, the people can drop the Hollywood is white.
there's actually statistics that back the fact that there are even today there are more
I took a monster
basically
before
white-
this. Sorry, my voice is shaking.
white-centered films and
yeah.
media, and not for people of color. But what I'm trying to say
let's
is
just
here.
ask Kanye who owns Hollywood.
Oh yeah,
Kanye, who owns Hollywood? And show your face this time.
yeah. Well, let's not get into that because that's it's not a it's
Speaking of Kanye, back to those contracts. Interesting you mentioned that. I mean, because, a contract isn't just like, hey, you do this movie. You do 4 movies or whatever.
you can't talk against your employer.
You can't talk about that. You also, depending on the contract, they can also prohibit you from being in other movies. Ones that won't really make Nick Fury look like a Marvel guy. Where if Samuel L. Jackson is in this, another Tarantino crazy movie, and a kid wants to go and see that, like, oh, that's Nick Fury. Well, Disney might shut it down because
they don't want to relate themselves to something about that. Makes a lot of sense.
But then that's locking these actors into these roles, like that Carrie Fisher thing.
Yeah, but I agree with that. But what I want to say about Simu Liu's comment or statement is, or that I do agree that Hollywood has been white for a long time, and he wouldn't have had the opportunity to do the things that he did if Marvel hadn't given him a chance. But I'm just saying it's really sad that you're relying on Marvel's, which is like a company that shoots out lazy content now, for representation. The fact that they say our movies are pretty bad. our TV shows are pretty bad, but we have a minority in the lead, so we're automatically good.
Yeah.
No, that's not how it works. When he says that last line, but they don't get to point their nose at me or anyone.
Because they don't make the same amount of money.
I'm just saying that's a wrong statement,
I agree
because
with that.
these, basically what he called them, he addressed them as the auteurs that they are. They can actually judge a movie on its quality. And if the movie's quality is not that great, and they're complaining about how these low quality films are taking over the Hollywood landscape, and they're saying this is a bad thing, this is essentially a really bad trend, he's like, well, but it's brought on representation, so you don't get to say that these movies are bad. Well, actually, yeah, A, they can say that these movies are bad because they are, and B, just because they provide representation doesn't mean that they're defensible. You know, these representation should be reliant on movies that are actually of quality and that are actually good. And if you don't see enough representation in movies of quality and they're good and they're not franchise-led movies, then there's a problem.
It's just the disrespect that they're giving
Yeah.
to where they're like, oh, okay, we have to have a Mexican lead. Okay, well, let's do a Mexican lead, and let's just kind of put some kind of story together that'll kind of match whatever culture there
Check
is,
off a
because
box.
we're going to have a full white writing, table. So we won't really. This is what white people think of like Mexican culture. Like that's
And
how it
that's-
looks like in the Marvel universe.
And that's another thing. As a woman of color, I know that I'm not that brown, but I do come from a culture that is brown. But anyway, I would just like to say that, I've been asked a couple of times, don't you feel happy that there's a Hispanic girl being America Chavez? Don't you feel happy that Tenoch Huerta is playing Namor in the new Black Panther movie? I'm like, I'm personally, I don't feel excited about that, just because the bad quality of the film overshadows the excitement that I have for the representation of my culture on screen. Because the movie is bad, because the show or whatever is bad, I just don't feel as excited anymore, because it feels like they're throwing me a bone. It doesn't feel
Checking
genuine.
us off a box, and that's it. I'll get all the Mexicans to shut
Exactly.
up. Just throw in a Mexican character and make her do stuff.
yeah.
Exactly. But
There's no passion in the project.
yeah, it just feels that way, like they're throwing a bone to me or whatever.
Another thing, Disney, why haven't you made a Mexican princess? And no, Sophia does not count. She has blue eyes and brown hair. No, we want a legit Mexican princess.
Yeah, well, that's another topic for another day. But
I mean, we're talking about race and Disney, so
yeah,
just
well,
getting that
I think
out
it would be
there.
kind of weird though, because there's this if they were to make a princess, it would fall in the very delicate times of colonization and indigenous people, and sort of colonizers
That's true.
clashing with indigenous people, and having a princess.
What about just
It would be really weird.
Just, I don't know, a normal modern day princess. I don't know. Writers, get on that. Just
I know,
Okay.
right? But like, can we just think of something that's not like that involves race that's not racist? Is it that hard?
true.
Is it that hard?
Yeah,
Can we-
just
well, I mean, just like that,
an
it's
original
like,
story. Yeah.
Can we just have a Mexican princess that doesn't involve colonialism? Even though, like, we know everything does.
Everything does involve colonialism. We're
Right?
here because of colonialism.
We're
Like,
still
because
suffering the effects of post-colonialist,
Right.
like of a post-colonialist society.
please, let's have a good Disney movie.
Just make good movies, guys. It's
That's
easy.
that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what's wrong with the actor who plays Shang-Chi is saying. He's saying you can't criticize these movies because they have representation. Well, that's at least that's what I'm understanding.
That's what I understand too.
And yes, you can criticize them despite the fact that they have representation. What you should be advocating for is, hey, we should have good movies that also contain representation, because we are not going to stand there and basically be the tokenized for a franchise that just cares about profits.
I agree. Amen.
That's what it is.
Let's go to the next topic.
Okay? I'm a populist person by heart and by nature. So
Okay.
let's talk about what the people
The
said.
people say this is useless. Let's make movies about making lives better instead of garbage. People are dying from over. Okay, this guy's dark. Be careful about how you describe a video game movie. Many of us remember the first Super Mario movie. Okay, no. Top tier. Okay. Either they recast you or this movie sucks. Okay, I'm not getting anything
I
good.
read a comment here. It says, has anyone seen a Chris Pratt movie before? Chris Pratt plays Chris Pratt in all Chris Pratt movies.
That's actually very true.
He's Star-Lord.
And that goes against what old Tarantino was saying earlier. A lot of actors really play into their own charisma, especially like
they have this sort of quality to them.
Yeah, like Ryan Reynolds, Ryan Gosling as well.
Why are they all Ryans?
I don't know. Chris Evans.
So Chris Evans
some
is actually a little bit
different
more
ones.
versatile because he can play a high school douchebag in like a teen movie. He can also play a really serious leader like Curtis Everett in Snowpiercer, and he can also play a good do-gooder Boy Scout like in Captain America. So he's a little bit more versatile.
He's more versatile.
But if you remember, those movies came before he was Captain America.
Snowpiercer came out after he was Captain America.
I'm sorry.
Oh, a little Marvel news.
Oh, okay. What's
They're thinking about bringing Chris Pratt and Jessica Alba back.
Oh,
Chris Evans
Chris Evans back as
Fantastic Four,
as the Fantastic Four people.
or like Secret Wars or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard they're also gonna bring back Toby and Andrew. Whenever they
For more.
Yeah, whenever they put those two together, you know there's gonna be big money. So that's a good move. And Chris Evans coming up,
But you said it yourself, big money.
big money. That's what matters now.
That's what
Not-
matters.
Not quality, guys. Not quality. We just talked about that. It's the money.
Is it a good movie? Doesn't matter. Did you pay to watch it?
That's good. You see Andrew Garfield and Toby and Chris Evans and Jessica Alba, and who else? Heck, not Matthew. Okay. Hugh Jackman.
I can't believe you forgot Hugh Jackman's name. But okay,
Yes.
let's talk about
Speaking-
the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Speaking of
Yeah.
a movie that's going to make a lot of money.
Leguizamo.
Okay, so first off, the backlash to Chris Pratt's the casting choice of Chris Pratt as Mario Brothers
Is that it's trash?
is that people don't like it, including myself. I
I
just
don't.
find it really weird and inappropriate, and other people do. Do you have any comments?
Honestly,
I mean,
guys,
it was Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt is Mario.
And yeah, well, I mean, but
Mario
do you
is
have
Chris
like the
Pratt.
examples of people's backlash so our listeners will actually
personally,
believe
guys,
us?
I couldn't care less about this movie, and here's why. Mario's a video game, and this is just another attempt of making a video game a movie, like Sonic the Hedgehog and World of Warcraft, and what was the other one? Assassin's Creed. It's just a trend right now.
Well, this is a franchise-driven movie. I
get that
I
people
do
love
that.
Mario, but you love the video game. You love the video game, not the movie. And
It-
you're not gonna love the movie. If you do, great. But
The only movie that because most movies that are based on video games are a failure. But the only
Sonic
movie
the Hedgehog wasn't.
that's what I'm saying. The only two movies, well, not the only one, because Sonic the Hedgehog was good. But
I didn't like it.
well, it was a bit for, I guess, a more younger audience.
It was a younger audience.
But
it wasn't horrible though.
It wasn't.
It wasn't bad.
It wasn't
yeah.
bad, but
it was. I mean, it's for little kids.
but
and
can I
like,
just say
I like Siberian Phil Miller.
that
I thought it was good.
that the only two movies based on video games, because usually that combination doesn't go well. Video games doesn't really translate into a movie because the video game usually already has all the qualities to make it great, but whatever. The Mario Brothers movie from the 90s was my jam.
And
I
people
played
hated that movie.
I played that on repeat on my VHS. On repeat as a kid, and I freaking loved it.
Princess Peach.
Okay. I
was
loved
a
it.
Hot one.
And you know what? It didn't stay true to the colorful design of the characters or the typical trademark qualities or sayings or catchphrases, but it was good. That's what made it good. I liked it.
But you see, that's where it's the beauty is in the. What
But
was it saying?
then again, I was a
Of the
child,
beholder.
and I didn't really have sort of a standard of or a criteria for movies. I just really enjoyed it because the dinosaur, as gross as they looked, the dinosaur
There's a lot of
animatronics were
slime
nice.
in that movie, right? A lot of slime. Did you see that movie?
The
Matt?
Koopa.
Shouldn't, actually.
No, you shouldn't. I mean, I guess if you saw it as a kid, you would have liked it better. But right now, there's a lot of slime in that movie. I'm just realizing that everybody was sweaty.
I think my favorite
What's
scene-
with the slime.
Wasn't there even a strip?
There
club
was a
scene?
stripper. I think she
Oh,
put her
there was a
leg
s-
over a cop.
Yeah, it was a really adult movie for
Wow.
such a young.
Pretty progressive.
But I liked it. Okay, I liked it, and I stand by that. Okay.
Back to the
And
topic.
that's where we come in with. I'm sorry if I butcher his name, John Leguizamo.
Luigi Zambo.
So he played Luigi in the Mario movies from the 90s, and he was freaking awesome, okay? And I loved him. And he also played Sid from, Ice Age. But basically what happened behind the scenes is what we're sort of getting into. So just scroll down. So, yeah, so he was Luigi in the 1993 live-action Super Mario Brothers. And he said that the new film went backwards by having 2 white actors voice Mario and Luigi. Ironic. He says, I'm OG. A lot of people love the original. I did Comic-Con in New York and in Baltimore, and everyone's like, no, we love the old one, the original, and they're not feeling the new one. I'm not bitter. It's unfortunate. Okay, let's keep scrolling down.
Because he's Italian? Is that what he's saying?
He's a Latin man. The directors, Annabelle Jankel and Rocky Morton, fought really hard for me to be the lead because I was a Latin man. But the studio didn't want me to be the lead.
What,
You heard that?
But, you got to say why,
This
though.
is a problem with studios in Hollywood, okay? They see someone like Chris Pratt is a moneymaker when it comes to franchise leading, okay? He is in the Marvel franchise. He's also in the Jurassic World franchise. And he was, what other pictures has he done?
Parks and Rec.
But he's a leading man, according to the studios. He draws people. He makes money at the box office. Well, why couldn't you have hired, Ryan Reynolds or somebody else? I mean, there's plenty of other leading men who actually do well at the box office. But anyway.
But he does do well at the box office.
That's what I'm saying.
Guardians of the Galaxy and Jurassic World, there you go.
The studio didn't want me to be the lead. This is what John claims. And I totally believe him because that's how studios work. The studios are basically, they look at the actors not by their sort of talent, or there's no meritocracy. It's just who's the most popular, who's the leading man that can draw the most numbers in.
Most money.
Right?
Because Ryan Reynolds and Pikachu. That's I feel like that's the formula that said, that works.
And
Let's
so
do that.
Yeah.
He says that the directors fought really hard for him to voice a character, and he said it was such a breakthrough. For them to go backwards and not cast another actor of color kind of sucks. So at the same time, you have people in Hollywood sort of advocating for diversity, but at the same time, that is not happening. There's still trouble with representation as much as some people don't want to admit it. But yeah, we do need more representation of quality, by the way.
We would still be talking about it, but if
Yeah.
Chris Pratt actually had an amazing Mario accent,
It would work.
it wouldn't
It
be
would
too
work
bad.
because
Chris
we
Pratt.
just talked
It's
about
just because
it.
he doesn't sound like Mario.
He doesn't
That's the
sound like
problem.
It's
Mario.
literally like they were like probably Chris Pratt comes in to the interview. They're like, "Let's go," and then they're like, "No. You need to sound like Chris Pratt." It's like, isn't this a Mario
That's
movie?
right.
Like, no. We want you to sound like you. Star-Lord, we want that.
We want Star-Lord.
We want
Yeah.
Star-Lord.
That is really, really. That's probably exactly what happened.
And
you know
he
why?
nailed it. He
And
nailed it.
you know why? Because that's exactly what happened to Ryan Reynolds. He went into the audition and did a lot of voices. And they're like, no, we paid for Ryan Reynolds. We want Ryan Reynolds. We don't want a Pikachu voice. We want you. And that's why I feel like that's exactly
Yeah.
what
And
happened.
not only is this detrimental to the fact that, representation, but it's also detrimental to, I guess, the integrity of characters. Like we were just talking about that, how in animated films from the 90s, the character mattered more than the actor who was voicing him.
Yeah.
Because it's the voice that counts. It's the voice that builds the character and that makes them unique. In this movies, we're just looking for, who's voicing this character? Who's voicing that character?
Yeah.
And that's sad because the character themselves don't get to shine, right? And this is strictly, in my opinion, for animated films. But let's keep going. It says Pratt's casting as Mario in the Super Mario Brothers movie has been controversial ever since the Guardians of the Galaxy and Jurassic World actor joined the movie. Pratt told Variety ahead of the film's trailer debut that the voice he was doing for Mario was unlike anything you've heard in the Mario world before because it's just your voice. Okay? It's just your voice, Chris. Like, you're not even making it into a character.
But maybe it wasn't his choice, though.
It wasn't
Maybe
his
it wasn't
choice.
his choice.
So it's not necessarily his fault, but
he-
people blame him.
He's trying to, they blame him because he's peddling on the fact that he's an employee of the studio.
Yeah,
or whatever.
exactly.
He has to sell the movie.
Yeah. He worked really closely with the directors to craft the perfect Mario voice, adding, "We tried out a few things and landed on something that I'm really proud of." I mean, okay, so can we, in the trailer, what are the lines that he says?
The guy tried his best, I think.
What are the lines that he said in the trailer?
He said, "Let's a go," but it was like under his breath, like "Let's a go."
Can we watch that trailer here? I mean,
Let's watch the trailer.
Wait,
Are we allowed to?
I don't think so.
Well, here we can pause it and then we can come back. How about that?
Okay.
All right. So just I gotta say, we just watched it, and I just gotta say, we're so focused on Chris Pratt, and he's he may not be the best voice actor, but Jack Black, he's doing a great job.
Jack Black.
Peach and the Toad guy, he sounds like Toad. Luigi also sounds good. Why are we so focused on Chris Pratt?
Because he's the main character.
He's the main character. And you gotta say, he's trying. I mean, it's not like he has like his full on voice. You can kind of hear that he's trying to give it that little pitch, that woohoo and the let's go. I mean, it's like Chris Pratt making a cheap imitation of Mario. He's trying.
I would say that, oh, well, maybe Mario's original voice would sound absurd throughout the whole movie and it would be unbearable to listen to. But at the same time, this is an animated film with cartoonish characters. So what would be absurd about having a cartoonish voice for the character?
It's probably because you said it's annoying.
Huh?
Probably because you said it yourself. Maybe it might be too annoying to listen to. Like, it's okay to hear it like a woohoo every once in a while, but hear it over and over and over and over and over.
But then again, I would be saying like if they has like an Italian accent, like, you know what I mean? Like
Italian accent.
If he goes around saying, "Oh no, if the princess, I have to rescue
That's
her."
a really good Mario
That was
impression.
really good.
Yeah.
You're better than Chris Pratt.
Yeah, maybe I should have hired you.
Try.
That was really good. No,
You know?
but I
But
feel
something like that, I know there has to be like a balance between like if you go and all
I feel
out.
like if they hired like some guy that nobody knows, they wouldn't make as much money. But
why wouldn't it make as much money if the character is already there?
True.
The familiarity is already there.
Probably because it's so old. But Marshall, let's hear your opinion. I'm sorry, I feel like we're
I
talking.
think Chris Pratt is just reading lines.
Getting a paycheck.
And getting a paycheck. A big paycheck.
A big old paycheck.
I mean, but yeah, I agree with you. All the other ones are really good. But
Do you think that they're the saving grace of the film? Or they could possibly be the saving grace of the film?
It's a very
I really don't
violent
know.
film.
I mean, I don't think we're ready for this film yet. You know, I think we're still testing the waters with Sonic.
It could go either way, I feel like. It could go either really bad or really good. So, and you know how are people, sadly, how are we going to find that out if it was really bad or good? How are we going to find that out, guys? If it was bad or good.
We're going to pay for it.
We're going to pay for it.
We're going to watch it.
And we're going to watch it. And
we're going to do our own episode
the
on it.
box office is going to tell us, even if it's the most horrible movie in the world, if it makes money, I guarantee you they'll make another one. And if that makes money, they'll make another one.
Well,
and
then
a spin-off.
it's a good thing that I don't measure film success by its monetary gain.
That's exactly, yes.
Well,
it can be
I feel
horrible.
like just like how y'all watched the Mario movie in the 90s, from the 90s, millions of kids are going to watch this movie and love it. Whereas, like little kids, little kids who barely know who Mario is and have been playing like Mario for like a couple years on their little new on their Switch,
Switch.
And then
Do they still use that?
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's a big thing for the Smash Bros thing.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's really cool
Smash
how they
Bros.
threw in like Smash and they threw in Mario Kart.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of good Easter eggs that's going to be in this movie.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be
So
fun.
I think maybe we should just kind of
Easter eggs.
like let's just watch it.
And that's
Chris Pratt might suck, but
that's
let's
just one
try
thing
it
now.
out. Let's try it out.
That's the one thing I said at the very beginning. It's just one little thing that's kind of spoiling it for everybody, but everything else looks great.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna watch it, but
Oh, I am.
maybe I will.
No, we are going to watch
Okay,
it.
we're gonna watch it.
We're going to do an episode on it.
We're gonna do an
And
episode.
you have to watch it because it's not a Marvel movie.
Yeah, there you go. Bellen's so anti-Marvel, so she'll watch anything that's not Marvel. Right, Bellen?
Yeah.
Yeah, she gave up.
We're
She's
going to
like,
love this movie.
we'll see. We'll see. I
hope
just
so.
noticed something real fast before
James Cameron drops out of Avatar: The Way of Water Hollywood premiere due to COVID-19.
Oh yeah, you got COVID.
And
Would you look at that?
this weekend, Avatar opens. We're gonna watch it.
I haven't even seen the first one.
What?
Mm.
Yeah. I have, but honestly, I don't even remember it, so I'm gonna have to do a rewatch.
It's not that good. I think it's overrated.
Pocahontas in space. That's all I can remember.
Yeah, with really good effects for its
with
time.
really good effects. And
For
that's the thing.
2009.
And that's the thing. That's all I'm watching this movie for. The top-notch, high technology effects.
Yeah.
That's
That what?
yeah. That's all people are watching this movie for. You think people are
That's-
interested in the story? I don't think so. It's about the effects, the VFX, the
That's-
practical. Is that a dollar
That's-
taped on the wall?
That's what
Yes,
gets people to
That's
the
a Raymond
movies.
book.
Oh,
Well, that's what gets people to the movies. Does it look good?
does it look good?
Yay!
It's all about superficial.
We've become a very superficial society
We're not deep.
where our shallowness extends not only to our dating profiles on Tinder, but also to the way we perceive movies and the way we want to watch them based on whether they look pretty enough or not. So there you go.
It's a sad world we live in, but we can change that through this podcast. We can make people see the milk inside the movies, the juicy, tangy milk, and actually drink the substance rather than just stare at the cow from the outside.
It's not about how the carton looks.
Yeah, there you
it's
go.
about
The
how the
carton.
milk tastes.
Exactly. Quote that. We'll sell T-shirts with that quote. Get some merch out soon.
It's not about the cow tit.
I don't think people
about
would
what's
want to
in the
wear a
couch.
shirt
It's
that
what's
says
in the
milker on
content.
it.
We are the movie milkers, and we milk movies.
But I feel like that's a good way to wrap this one up. This has been our first movie with flies.
Current events.
Where we talk about current events
Probably our last podcast of the year.
Of the year.
of the year.
No, we have one more in us.
Yeah. I
One
think we
more.
got
One more.
One more.
We'll talk about something good, but
Yeah.
as always, we're here.
As always, people.
Hope you guys like the new background. We're still exploring, but we got a TV now and a cool map to show you where we're at, and cool drawings
as
that
usual.
are not ours. We're in
always-
an architecture design school, by the way, so that's why we have all this stuff. But we
And
can have access.
whoa. Well, what is that? What are you doing?
It's our
This
milk
is
so
yeah,
simple,
It's our
right?
milker
I thought you were
sign.
doing the Spider-Man symbol.
No,
No,
we
that's
should have a milker sign.
that's the cougar. Go Cougars.
Oh,
Go
okay.
Cougs.
Yeah.
Well, we need a milker sign.
Yay, school spirit. But anyway, guys, the last note I'm going to leave you guys with is whenever you're looking at current events or anything like that, our opinions are just opinions. And don't form your opinions based on what we say. You're more than welcome to disagree with us and call us basically dumb or that you guys don't know what you're talking about.
Trash us on our Instagram page.
Yeah, you can do
Please
whatever. And don't believe everything you listen to, and form your own opinions based on what you perceive to be, in movies, basically. Like, educate yourself, read some books, watch some videos, and basically just do as much learning as you can, and don't rely on everything that we say. This is just us having fun, talking about movies because we love them, and we can't shut up about them. So, yeah, you guys go
Milk
ahead
movies.
and...
Keep milking movies. Drink that
So,
juicy
Okay.
milk from
All
the
right.
cow tit.
Don't be a sheep.
Don't be a sheep.
Even though-
Listen to both sides of the argument, never one side.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
even though Belen said all that, I will say that we know everything about movies, and we are the only
supreme
opinion.
intelligent.
The only
No,
opinion
for
you
it.
should take in account for movies and really anything. I feel like we're the best people that you
Yeah.
should be listening to.
Yeah, we are the example to follow.
Okay.
Sorry, I ruined your bit.
You guys suck.
Thank you
love
guys for
y'all.
listening.
Thank you.
Make sure to follow us on YouTube. We're getting the videos up there.
Subscribe.
And, DM us,
We're very interactive.
Slide
We're
in.
not like holier than thou people or anything like that. Please interact with us. This is like a desert land in our DMs.
Yeah, I
Don't
know.
say that. It's
It's
super active,
literally-
felon.
Our DMs is literally just us sending
Each other.
each
news.
other stuff.
Yeah.
And we'll promise we'll get a more, I guess,
We'll get a
stable
Twitter account.
environment to film in, because right now we're just rolling around in my college. But
University of Houston.
hopefully we'll get in touch with somebody. I don't know.
But hey,
Bye, guys.
see ya.
Love you.
See ya.
Keep drinking milk.